Yeah.
And I
Okay.
grew up very protected in a very protected environment, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. Like I had a great family, and my grandparents lived across the street, and my uncle was also living across the street. So it was like that kind of we basically owned half of the road kind of feeling. So everything was always very secure. But yeah, and then it was also the same when I before I started traveling, I had that super huge discussion with my parents, right? So I'm 35 now. I started traveling 2 years ago, and when I made that decision in my head that I'm going to travel, I met a guy that was traveling for 10 years at that point,
Jesus.
and like meeting him was like like an epiphany, you know. And I knew that I would never travel for 10 years. That's not who I am. This I knew, but I knew that a different to see different mentalities, different societies, and traditions and cultures would be super helpful. So when I made that decision, my mom didn't talk with me for like 4 weeks. Not a word.
Really?
Not a word, man.
What
And
was
then
the
at one point,
concern?
yeah, because she didn't say shit, man. She was just super angry. It was like that kind of. She just didn't say anything. It was wall of silence, man. When I visited them, and then at one point I said, listen, so there's basically two options. We are not talking. That means I'm start traveling, and I'm not telling you where I am. I'm not telling you how I am. If I'm good, if there's any issues, you will not hear shit. Or we all of us grow up and we talk about it, and you don't need to love the idea, but you need to respect the idea. Because what I want is I want to be happy. Here I'm not happy. So if I find happiness in traveling or in a place where I end up at one point, then you should be happy for me as well, because all you want as my parents should be that I'm happy, right? So they kind of understood that. But the first thing she said after that was like, yeah, you know, you were always different than us. It's like it hurt a little, Eric. Like my heart broke a little, you know. But then after we had the discussion, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's true. But it also means if I would be like you guys, my life in 20 years from now would look like your life is right now, and I would hang myself because that's not who I want to be. Not that they have a bad life, but it's just like the most boring thing from my point of view that you could have. You know what I mean? So, and then I
Yeah.
realized, okay, it's good to be different. So,
Yeah, dude, that really resonates with me. Like I didn't know that about your situation because my mom is a very panicky person, and like every time I say I'm doing something or going somewhere, instead of being at like a celebratory thing or like I'm so happy for you, it's like, you know, always concerned about my safety. And like, yeah, I get that as like a mom, you want to be concerned about that stuff, but it's the first thing out of her mouth, you know, like, you need to call a taxi to travel a block at night, and don't go out at night, and don't eat the food there, and whatever, like all this stuff. And it's like, dude, I'm here enjoying myself, and I wish you could be happy for me in that way. And
yeah,
I think I might have to embrace or like bring that your tactic up of like, look, I'm totally fine not telling you anything and like not having the stress of our conversations involved. But if you want to know what's going on with me, like you need to respect what I'm doing, you know. And with my dad, it's the same kind of thing. Like my dad is a very fiscally conservative person, and like has his house paid off, has he gets like a nice new car, like not like a Lamborghini, but like, you know, like a nice like SUV every 5 years, totally pays it off. And like, but he was 65 before he ever made it to New York, and only because I was living there. And like I look at his life,
yeah,
and like he has stability and doesn't have those financial stresses, but with no disrespect to him, like I feel like I've gone more places. I've gone 5 times more places than he'll ever get to go in his life, you know. And I would not want that life that he has, you know.
yeah. This is very true. But I think for like your parents, the same as my parents, for them that has no value. Like the things that you appreciate in life and that gives you joy or happiness, for them it has no value. Their value, where they get their happiness from, is like, oh, my car is paid, I don't have debts, I have a safe income, and you know, I built a house, I planted a fucking tree, I have a kid, you know, all that super standard kind of living. And some people, and most of the people, I would say, makes that super happy, and there is nothing bad about that. But it's just also important that if you are like that, you need to understand that there are people out there like us, I would say, that are just different, you know. Like I never planned ending up in Bali, but now here I am. So
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not gonna. I just think about when I'm going to be on my deathbed, and the truth is, we don't know. None of us know when that's going to be. You know, we could get diagnosed with cancer tomorrow and have a year to live, or we could live another 40 years, whatever. Either way, I don't want to be on my deathbed and think I didn't try to see the world and gain other perspectives. And
true.
You know, for me, I know not everyone's that way, but